1989, London, advertising was loud, brave, unapologetically creative. Television ruled, budgets were big, ideas were bigger. Saatchi, BBH, Lowe, Howard's Pink. Agencies were not just agencies, they were cultural forces. And into that world walked a young woman starting her career at Lowe Howard's Pink, not knowing she would go on to shape some of the most important conversations around creativity, data, transformation, and growth over the next 3 decades. Today, she is the Global Chief Transformation and Growth Officer at Havas Creative Network, a role that sits right at the intersection of creativity, culture, commerce, and change. She has worked across financial services, healthcare, data led marketing, and global agency leadership. She has seen the industry at its most indulgent and at its most purposeful. This conversation is not about nostalgia, it's about evolution, what we have gained, what we have evolved from, and what it really takes to stay relevant for 35 years. I'm delighted to be joined by Tracey Barber.
Thank you, Pritha. I did do a slight intake of breath at the 35 years, but I shall embrace that rather than feel concerned about it.
Okay, so with that, the first question. Tracey, take us back to London of 1989. If I walked into Lowe Howard's Pink on your very first day, what would I see, hear, and feel? What did advertising feel like then? Was it intimidating, intoxicating, or both? Did you realize you were, in fact, what people now call a part of the golden age?
So I think it was about noise and creativity and vibrancy and energy, actually. So not necessarily dissimilar to where we are now. I think what is important was that it was about big ideas, big budgets, big cultural impact. But what it also was something that enabled us to see the change that we were able to deliver to clients within that era. And that's the critical point. We did it then, and I believe we're still doing it today.
But do you think advertising today has lost some of the bravery, or that courage simply has changed its form?
I'm not sure that talking about bravery or courage is the right conversation necessarily, because I think we should be talking about human creativity. Were the 80s or 90s or even earlier inherently more creative than they are now? I don't think they were necessarily. I don't think they were necessarily braver, but they were innovative and pioneering, which I think is why we look back fondly. But if I look at where we are right now, I think now is the most exciting and exhilarating time that I can honestly remember in this industry, because it's still about big ideas. It's still about cultural impact. They are our currency. Budgets remain large, but I think we now have to work so much harder to prove our value. And I don't think that's a bad thing, because it gives us the opportunity to talk with the C-suite beyond the CMO. And it's a chance to prove without any question the ability of agencies to deliver ROI, to show that we are solving large business problems. And that means we need to be braver, we need to be sharper, and we need to be better.
Okay, Tracey, you've moved fluidly across agencies, financial services, healthcare, and data-led marketing. Which experience most fundamentally rewired you to understand audiences, and why?
Honestly, it was client side. It was when I worked in financial services, because I think the difference there is you have to look at all aspects of the marketing mix. You have to understand not just what motivates an audience, but understand the implications of managing new product lines, delivering pricing models, thinking about commercial impact, managing your stakeholders, looking at the impact of what you're doing on the business. So it became ever more critical that we focused on growth and on measuring that growth and understanding the effectiveness of that growth. So honestly, it was when I worked client side.
But that experience, did that also make you less tolerant of what some people call vanity creativity later in your career?
I think that we're actually in the business of commercial creativity. Vanity creativity has never, ever had a place in our industry. And the very, very best agencies have always known that. I think our work ultimately has to work, which means it has to sell, it has to persuade, it has to shift opinions, or it has to change behaviour. If it doesn't, it's not good work. That's not to say, and I admit that we do them here on occasions, that vanity projects don't exist, but I think fundamentally they undermine the overall value of our business. And I think that's always been the case. And actually, it didn't necessarily take exposure to the FS industry to make me understand that.
Okay, people often say data kills creativity. You've spent years proving just the opposite. What's the most powerful example you've seen of data genuinely unlocking creativity?
I think, if I'm honest, the best example, the most famous example is Spotify Wrapped. Because honestly, the entire concept stems from data. Having data is one thing, it's how you use it, it's just where the creativity comes in.
Correct.
If you put the personalised, the shareable, the social aspects, you create a hyped up annual event that dozens of other brands have actually sought to replicate. So honestly, I think we're about shaping, playing with culture, and that for me is what Spotify Unwrapped precisely was. And it all came from data.
But do you think the industry has really learned how to analyze data, or are we still hiding behind dashboards and surface level metrics?
I think it's work in progress, honestly. I think some brands and agencies do it incredibly well, but it remains a little bit of a specialism. And I think that's why within Havas, the village model and our expertise in Havas CX really contributes, because everyone at the moment has data. What's interesting is not having the data, it's how you utilize that data to unlock the real advantage. So for me, one of the advantages for the whole AI innovation that we're seeing at the moment is to help us honestly democratize that process.
Tracey, you joined Havas in 2015 as Group CMO at a time when agencies everywhere were struggling to stay relevant. What did you see at Havas that made you believe this was the place where real change could actually happen?
Honestly, Havas then, and this remains true right now, I think saw the future and was building it. I think what's really interesting about Havas, and it remains true right to today, is that we saw the future, and honestly, we were already building it. If you take the Havas villages, we co-located all of our agencies under one roof with one culture and one leadership, one way of thinking. And that gave us the opportunity to bring together complementary specialisms. I think everyone is playing a little bit of catch up, and we need to remind ourselves that we were the innovators. The whole concept of working together was in our DNA, and the village model remains a genuine USP. I think what's interesting against that is that where we are today from an industry perspective is very, very different. I hate to mention it, but we're in a slight state of change. We've got a huge number of faceless, large organisations, as well as, on the other hand, hot shop independents and startups that don't necessarily have the scale and capabilities that a network like Havas has. I think, and it's a bit like the Goldilocks analogy, I think we're perfectly placed in the middle, not too big, not too small, and just right. And that genuinely excites me.
Now that leads me to my next question. You just spoke about One Havas. Now, while that sounds simple, in reality, integration could be complex. When did you first see it truly work, not just as a slide or a promise, but as everyday behavior?
I think it's actually a cultural challenge, if I'm honest, as much as a structural one. I think it's about having the right roles and the right people filling them, because only then does it become truth. So if you think about the organisation here in India and the way that we structure the teams when we have clients that are shared across the village, we have one leadership, we have one chief client officer. If I think about the teams that I build and establish across the world, again, we have one global chief client officer who looks after specific brands and are worth their weight in absolute gold, because they bring together the agencies, the disciplines, and the geographies in the way that clients need and dictate. And I think that is the difference, is that we remove the complexity for clients like Harman International, for clients like the Travel Corporation, all of which chose us over competitors like a Publicis or an IPG Omnicom or a Dentsu, because they saw that it wasn't just words, it was reality in the way that the villages come together and work as one team. And that's honestly, there's a bit of, because we genuinely like each other. I know that's a real soft measurement criteria, but if we don't like each other and can work effectively, doesn't matter what you call it, the teams won't work and integration will not be a success.
The advertising industry currently is in a complete state of flux. Consolidations, mergers, shrinking client rosters, constant reinvention. Many see this as a period of uncertainty. Havas, however, has consistently said this moment represents opportunity rather than threat. From where you sit, why is disruption actually playing to Havas's strengths?
I met with a prospect recently who is contemplating a pitch process, and they were a very, very senior CMO with a very, very large global organisation. And one of the things that she said to me was, I am fed up of walking into a room full of strangers. I keep going to see my agencies and I see different people each time I go in to meet them. And I think what is critical about that point is the continuity and the stability that Havas has delivered over the entire period that I've been here. It was set up by Yannick Bolloré, and Yannick remains our global leadership. If I look at our global leadership team, again, there are individuals who have been at Havas for a significant period of time. If you look at here in India, the talent that we've acquired and the individuals that lead our business within India are part of that family and part of that continuity. And I think what's important is that whilst we are both super entrepreneurial, think about the acquisitions that we've driven, think about the growth that we've achieved in India year on year. That is critically important, but it is because we have a team at the top who are a family. And I love the fact that Havas remains that family culture.
Now, as the Global Chief Transformation and Growth Officer today, what does growth actually mean to you? Revenue, relevance, or resilience?
Well, I think ultimately, as with our clients, it's revenue, but they're all intrinsically linked. You can't have revenue growth if you don't have relevance and resilience. But it's not just about winning new clients, it's about our ability to cross-pollinate existing business across disciplines and retain clients, because if you don't retain your clients, then actually we're not doing our job effectively. So I think what's important, it's as much around the way that we show up from a village perspective, but also how we work on our client experience and make that brilliant every single day.
You've had a long and deeply personal association with India, and definitely with Havas India in particular. How has the India story shaped your own thinking on transformation, leadership, and growth? What has this market taught you that few others could?
India moves at speed and it moves with innovation, and it has the complexity of multiple cultures, a diverse geography, and the need to be able to adapt to that geography and those changes. I think what's critical is that I've seen within the leadership team and the client scope in India an ability to be both effective and inspiring. And where we can learn from that is being able to do the same level of thinking, the same power of strategic and creative output, but do it a little faster than some markets would necessarily like to adapt.
Okay. You've had a front row view of Havas India's evolution over the last 7 or 8 years. From your perspective, what has been the most defining shift in its transformation, and what gives you confidence that this momentum is sustainable and not cyclical?
I'll go back to the piece around leadership and team. I think that's critical, and the continuity and vision that leadership team has demonstrated. And I think what's important is focusing on the right things, not necessarily focusing on everything. If I think about last year and the fact that we achieved the Cannes Lion for Ink of Democracy, that is absolutely critical. And it's a proof point of the way that we are approaching effective creativity. And I'm very hopeful that we will see the same level of awards. And I'm going to stress that point. It's about effective creativity. Going back to the earlier question with regards to revenue and growth, we have to deliver the ability for our clients to grow and show effectiveness, because ultimately, within the chaos that we're seeing in the market, that is what will make Havas stand out.
Okay, now what do you see too many brands and agencies getting wrong right now?
I think because of the change, we have become very much focused on our own problems, not on our clients. And as an industry, we love to talk about ourselves. And I think it's absolutely essential that we think hard about client first and what their challenges are and what we need to do differently. Increasingly, we are becoming commoditized, bland and faceless. We need to ensure that we deliver each and every time the level of return and value that our clients expect. And I think if we can focus on that rather than our own complexities or our own gossip and conversation, it will make a significant difference.
Okay, is there a word in advertising you would happily ban forever?
The answer is no. That's the word. I think it's really important that we open our minds to what is achievable. And if I go back to 35 years ago, that is the mantra that I have maintained with all of the agencies and seen in the agencies that have been a success. We look at what is possible, how we adapt, how we innovate, rather than thinking that can't be done.
Okay, last two questions. If 1989 Tracey were sitting across from you today, what would surprise her most about the industry she's been part of for the last 35 years?
I think that it's still so exciting, that it was still able to surprise, that we are still pushing boundaries, that we're still questioning ourselves, and that we are super focused on the quality and value that we are delivering for our clients. And if I look back then, I'm not sure whether I would have said we would be able to maintain that focus. And I'm super excited that we've been able to do so.
And finally, what genuinely excites you about the future? Not what we say excites us, but what actually gives you energy.
I'm going to go to the immediate future, and I'll say can, because we are and always will be a people-based industry. And Cannes is such a unique and incredible chance to connect with the best into the best and to see work that is brilliant. And I think it's important for us to see the work from other agencies, from other brands, from other areas of expertise to widen our focus and allow us to be curious. So that is what excites me in the immediate future.
That brings us to the end of this exciting conversation with Tracey Barber. What I love about Tracey's journey is that it reminds us that longevity in advertising doesn't come from chasing trends. It comes from staying curious, staying uncomfortable, and staying human. From the golden age of British advertising to the age of data, purpose, and transformation, her career mirrors the industry's evolution, its excesses, its correction, and its potential. Tracy, thank you so much for the insights, the perspective, and the reminder that growth isn't just about scale, it's about substance. And to everyone listening, if this conversation resonated, don't forget to subscribe, share, and join us for the next episode. Until then, stay curious.
Thank you. And it was an honor to be part of this. Thank you very much, Pritha.